Coming up on Network Africa, Morocco lobbies to rejoin the AU 32 years after exiting the Union. Ugandan army begins evacuation of citizens from neighboring South Sudan, where fighting between forces loyal to the president and his rival has claimed at least 200 lives. On our Africa Tech segment, tech startups are helping people connect with skilled workers and service providers. Hello and welcome to Network Africa. I am BC Adebayo. It's been 32 years since Morocco exited the Organization of African Union after the OAU recognized the independence of Western Sahara. A Moroccan special envoy has met Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta to seek support for his country to rejoin the African Union. The historic move is anticipated to be announced during the 27th AU Summit, scheduled to take place in the Rwandan capital, Kigali, on July the 17th to the 18th. Now, there are unconfirmed reports about whether King Mohammed VI will attend the upcoming AU summit, which begins this Sunday. Morocco has access to services available to all AU states, but remains the only African UN member not to be a member of the AU. Dr. Segun Bolariwa joins us now on Network Africa to talk more on this. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you. You are welcome.
Now, why would Morocco want to rejoin the AU 32 years after leaving?
In fact, it is very surprising that Morocco now, even at this time, at this period in time, will decide to come back to the African Union. Let me note, first of all, that since the OAU transformed into the AU as it was today, Morocco has never been a member of the African Union. This will be the first time Morocco will want to show interest of becoming a member of the African Union. Morocco left the OAU in protest over the issue of Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, otherwise called the Western Sahara, because when Spain left between 75 and 76, Morocco took over the Western Sahara, that is part of Morocco. And the OAU has been against Morocco's occupation of Western Sahara. As a result of that, that was why Morocco had to withdraw its membership of the OAU. So it's so surprising, it's so alarming, it's so just sudden that Morocco now will want to be member of the African Union, which means a lot of things are underneath or politics going on. I'm also aware that it is the president of Kenya presently, President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is making an effort for Morocco to return, or Morocco is lobbying through which they want to return to the African Union. Another thing I want to highlight here is that it is also very pertinent not only for African countries and African leaders, but also for the global community, especially at the level of United Nations, to be wary of Morocco's return to the African Union. The reason is that already now there's a very high-level discussion on the status of Western Sahara now. Western Sahara is the last colony in Africa that has not gotten our independence. So as a result of that now, as a result of this, Western Sahara must get our independence, and Morocco is fervently against Western Sahara being an independent nation in Africa. So an African Union itself, right from OAU to African Union, has been against Moroccan occupation of Western Sahara. So if Morocco is going to be accepted back into the African Union, the first condition African Union should give to Morocco is that Morocco should accept the independence of African Union and the recognition of the Polisario movement in Western Sahara. If Morocco is not ready to accept that, which is already a proposal at the level of the General Assembly of the United Nations and that of the Security Council. If Morocco is not ready to accept that, I want to advise at my level as an academic and a researcher that the African Union should be wary of this new application by Morocco to return to the African Union.
Well, Dr. Bolariwa, you mentioned earlier that President Uhuru Kenyatta has been approached to come in. Now, how is this going to play out? How is he going to be able to influence Morocco's return to the AU?
Well, if somebody like President Uhuru Kenyatta is a normal thing, in fact, the truth is that from experiences, from what we have seen, even the last AU meeting in January last year, since 2011, I've been opportune to attend African Union Summit. So you will discover that even since the transformation from the OAU to AU, the African continent decided to still keep Moroccan seats open. So Morocco has a seat even within the African Union, but only that none of their diplomats has ever sat on that seat. So Africa itself is aware, or African Union is aware, Morocco will return one day. But the manner and the process and in whatever capacity is going to return is what the African Union was not aware. But now, Morocco is trying to lobby a country like Kenya using its president Uhuru Kenyatta, who is also a principal officer of the African Union chair or the membership of the executive officers of the African Union. So he's trying to use Morocco because Morocco has a voice within the African Union. And Morocco is also a vocal country within the African Union.
Well,
Kenya is a vocal country within the African Union.
All right, Dr. Bolariwa.
Other countries, yes?
Yeah, I was going to say that despite leaving the African Union, Morocco has still enjoyed privileges that are entitled to other AU states. Now, if the rejoin, is anything likely to change?
Well, nothing really is going to change. Only God knows why Morocco wants to return to the African Union now. Or I want to assume Morocco may be lobbying now. You know, Morocco has never been in the picture of the UN Security Council reforms. The reforms, you know, it has always been Nigeria and South Africa and Egypt who have always been front runners to become a permanent member of the Security Council if the UN Security Council is eventually reformed. So, and they said 2 seats are allotted to Africa. They've always looked at Egypt, Nigeria, and South Africa. And Morocco cannot lobby to become a permanent member of the UN Security Council in aloof status. So in other words, you have to come through your regional organization like African Union, European Union, the Asian or Organization of American States for anybody coming from those regions. So I think I want to believe Morocco wants to use the opportunity to come back to the African Union to use the platform and try to be a candidate or apply for being a full member or a permanent member of the UN Security Council. There could be other reasons known to Morocco that we are yet to determine now.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Segun Bolariwa, for talking to us on Network Africa. Dr. Segun Bolariwa is a research fellow at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. Well, elsewhere, the crisis in South Sudan is pretty much under control, but several nationalities are still evacuating their citizens. Uganda's army is evacuating citizens from inside neighboring South Sudan on Thursday, where fighting between forces loyal to the president and his rival has plunged the nation into its worst crisis since the end of a 2-year civil war. Uganda said its troops, who witnesses said entered South Sudan in trucks and armored vehicles, would stay in a town outside Juba and focus on evacuations. But a Ugandan official said a fresh flare-up could mean a longer stay without giving a timeline. Well, Network Africa continues in a moment, and when we return, Kapene Estate in South Africa is making history as the first farm to grow strawberries in the North Coast.